Welcome everyone to E-invoice webinar. What we will discuss today, E-invoice and regulation and how to apply it in Qoyod. First of all, we will know the definitions of E-invoicing and QR code. E-invoicing is a procedure that aims to convert the issuing of paper invoices and notes into an electronic process that allows to exchange and processing of invoices, credit notes, and debit notes in a structured electronic format between buyer and sellers through an integrated and electronic solution. So we will stop the paper handwriting issuing and invoicing issuing. We will stop using which is like Excel or Word. All of these we will stop using to issue invoices. All of these should be through electronic system. QR code, a type of matrix barcode with a pattern of black and white squares that is machine readable by a QR code scanner on the camera of smart devices in order to enable basic validation of electronic invoices and electronic notes. So what we will have a QR code, has a data on it, which is required on simplified tax invoice only in this phase, and it will be able to read by VAT website or VAT application if we check. So this is the QR code, which is the most important regulation in this phase. E-invoicing implementation phases. First of all, we have December 4th, 2021, phase 1, generation phase. Taxpayers are required to generate and store compliant electronic tax invoices and notes using compliant e-invoicing system. So in the first phase, they are required to generate an electronic tax invoice and notes. The notes means the credit notes, debit notes. All of this should be generated by e-invoicing systems. January 1st, 2023, which is phase 2, integration phase. Integration of taxpayers e-invoicing system with ZATCA and waived by targeted taxpayers groups. Taxpayers will be notified by ZATCA on the date of their integration at least 6 months in advance. Use compliant e-invoicing system. Taxpayers must equip themselves with an e-invoicing system complying with phase 1 requirement. Taxpayers may approach their solution provider or internal technical teams to ensure their e-invoicing system are compliant with ZATCA requirements. In addition, developers and subject matters experts may visit ZATCA's website to view all the requirements, business, technical, and security. We will provide you some links to read and get the details from there. Generating and storing e-invoices. Taxpayers must generate electronic invoices using compliant e-invoicing systems. As we said before, manual and handwriting invoices will no longer be considered as compliant tax invoice. So we will stop, or we already start by 4th of December to stop using Excel or Word invoices. Ensure all elements of the tax invoice are fulfilled. Generation of e-invoices must include all fields in accordance with VAT regulation. In addition to tax invoice, the VAT number of the buyer. If the buyer is a registered VAT taxpayer, QR code can be added, optional. But for the VAT registration number of the buyer is mandatory in a tax invoice type. Regarding simplified tax invoice, a mandatory QR code generated by the taxpayers e-invoicing solution in accordance with ZATCA specification. So what is mandatory in simplified tax invoice is the QR code. The e-invoicing model can be summarized as follows. The seller generates and stores the electronic invoice through a compliant e-invoicing system. The e-invoice should include all the mandatory fields in the tax invoice, and we will discuss it later. The buyer receives a copy of the invoice and has ability to scan the QR code for the simplified tax invoice. He has to receive a copy of the invoice either by email or he can receive a printed paper. There is no issue with that. Things not to do on December 4th, 2021. Generate manual or handwriting invoice. Generating invoices that do not fulfill authorities' requirement. Usage of a system that does not comply with e-invoicing requirements as published by the authority, deleting e-invoices after issuing them. All of these are prohibited things to do on December 4th, which is in this phase and this period. Examples of prohibited functionalities for e-invoicing system. Phase 1, lack of user management capabilities or uncontrolled access. For example, anonymous access, absence of user sessions management, tempering of e-invoice on their associated notes or logs, ability to create multiple electronic invoice sequence. If the system generates more than one sequence of the invoice, so this is not fulfill the e-invoicing system. Phase 2, all prohibited functionalities that are part of phase 1, export of stamping key, time change. These are in phase 2 integration phase prohibited functionalities. Phase 1 requirements for tax invoice. We have first of one type of invoice, invoice type description, tax invoice. This validation should be the visibility of visibility on invoice written tax invoice, and it's mandatory to have it in the system as well. So the application shows the status if it's mandatory or conditional, and we will have the visibility on invoice, is it required or no to show or no. The second one, special billing agreement flags, not mutually exclusive, self-billed invoice, and third-party billed invoice on behalf of the supplier. The self-billing option is only allowed where both parties are VAT registered, and it's not allowed in simplified tax invoice. So the self-billing only for a tax invoice type, and it's required and conditional, which is only if the both parties are registered in VAT. Special transaction type flags, not mutually exclusive, nominal supply, export, summary, if any of the conditions are present. So it's required, based on that, it's conditional. Invoice identifiers, invoice reference number, IRN, a unique and sequential note number issued by tax payer. So it should be unique and sequential note number and issued by the taxpayer. It's required and mandatory. Date, invoice issue date, it's required and to be in dates, then month, then years, and it's mandatory in the system. So we have to show the issue date in the visibility of the invoice to show in the invoice. Invoice issue time, it's mandatory in the system, but to show in the invoice, it's not required and should be hours, minutes, and seconds. Supply date, if the supply dates need to be present, if it's different from the invoice issue date. So if the issue date is different than the supply date, so it's required and it's conditional because we have if word. So the format should be the date, month, and year. Field seller identification, which is our firm or our organization. Name required, The address, it's required and must be in Saudi Arabia. VAT registration number, it's required. Group VAT registration number, it's required, but here we have two situations. If the group VAT was entered, so the field of VAT registration number, it's optional. So if we have group VAT registration number, so the VAT registration number, it's not required, or we will say that it's optional to have it in the invoice. The buyer identification, which is our client name, it's required. Address, it's required. VAT registration number, if applicable, the same situation if we have the group VAT registration number. So the VAT registration number will be optional and not mandatory if the sale to a non-taxable legal person. Sometimes we will sell to a non-taxable legal person. We have organization not registered in VAT, so the VAT registration number, it's not required. So it's conditional. Field line items, good or service description, it's required. Unit price required. Quantity required. Discount or rebate amount, if discount is provided at line item level. So to be filled, if the discount is provided at line item levels, good or service, it's required and it's conditional. We have two types of discount, either by line item or for the total. Now Qoyod has line item discount. So if you give a discount, so it's mandatory to show. VAT rate, it's mandatory if the goods or service is not out of scope or exempt from VAT. So the VAT rate pays if it's has in the scope, so it's required to show. VAT amounts not applicable, required, and it's mandatory to show. So it's the VAT amount should be shown in the tax invoice in all status. Total amount, discount or rebate percentage, if discount is provided at invoice level, to be filled if discount is provided at invoice level. Visibility in invoice, it's not required, but it's conditional based if we give a discount at invoice level. Discount or rebate amount, this is required to show in the invoice. Invoice taxable amount, it's required. VAT total must be in Saudi Arabia. Invoice gross total inclusive of VAT, it's required to show in the invoice. Special tax treatment, where tax is not charged at the standard rate. This field should have a narration, tax treatment applied to the supply. Narration to be entered if tax is not charged at basic rate, it's required to show. So it's conditional as well based on the effort. We will move to phase 1 requirement for simplified tax invoice and have the QR code requirements or specification. Then we will see how to activate the e-invoice system, and we will see how to have user roles and see the user sessions management and so on. Type of invoice, simplified tax invoice, shows as simplified tax invoice. Special billing agreement flag, not mutually exclusive, third party billed only, and as we said before, self-billed, it's not it's prohibited for simplified tax invoice. Special transaction type flags, nominal supply and summary, it's required. Invoice identifiers, invoice reference number, same as tax invoice, it's not applicable, but it's required and mandatory, there is no validation. QR code, it's required and mandatory to see in the simplified tax invoice, and it's based on the specification. We will discuss it later. Date, invoice issue dates should be in date, month, years, and required. Issue time, it's not required to show in the invoice, but it's mandatory in the system. seller identification name. The address of our organization must be in Saudi Arabia, and it's required as well. For VAT and group VAT, same as tax invoice. If we have the group VAT, so the VAT registration number is optional. Line items, good or service description, it's required, unit price required, quantity required, the subtotal exclusive of VAT, it's not required to show in the simplified tax invoice. The total amount, the VAT total, either VAT total or gross total or both be entered. So we have the choice to show the VAT total or shows the gross total or both be entered, so it's conditional. Invoice gross total inclusive of VAT. If VAT total is not entered, so the gross total to be entered statement amount includes VAT. QR specification. Structure of QR code for electronic tax invoice, it's mandatory to generate and print QR code encoded in base 64. The QR code field shall be encoded in tag length value TLV code format with the tag values specified in the tag column of the adjust table. Tag 1 should show the seller name, tag 2 VAT registration number of the seller, tag 3 timestamp of the invoice show the date and time, and 4 invoice total with VAT, tag 5 which is the VAT total. Here we have this picture from the ZATCA webinar, representation of the QR code data examples. If the QR goes to you with the hyperlink of the website, it's wrong behavior. If it shows data in text format, it's wrong behavior, which show the seller name, VAT registration number, timestamp, VAT total. Hyperlink to the invoice in online, if it will direct you to a hyperlink to invoice online or PDF page, it's not okay with that. Empty or unknown numbers like this, it's not a correct behavior, which should be in correct behavior, which is TLV base 64 string, have letters and numbers together to be translated to same of these data shows in table like this. Is all of this is clear to you to move to a Qoyod website? Do you have any questions? To check if the QR code generated correctly, we have a VAT application in Android and in iOS. It's called VAT or الضريبة المضافة. You can install it in your smartphones, and you can check the barcode through that. Exactly. So whenever we scan the QR code, it will not show you the VAT ID, seller name, all of these shouldn't show in the first time. It should be encoded base 64, as we said before, base 64. So we cannot understand it with the first scan. We have to translate it to a VAT in the VAT website or VAT application. It's there in the App Store or Play Store. Please check in your smartphone now. You can check that. For the application link, just give me a moment to provide you that. I will try to bring it to you. What I have to now, it's just give me one moment. I will give you the link of Play Google Play and Apple application to download directly, but copy the Apple link because it's written in Arabic. So we will start to see how to apply it on Qoyod system. Then we will answer all of your questions after the webinar. Please write all of your questions in Q&A option. You have Q&A. Please write all questions there, since we can answer your questions after the webinar. So what we have now, if we go to invoices, we will see that I already through settings. Here we will have an option to show activate Saudi e-invoice. E-invoice requirements are currently applied to this organization. So we will have an option to activate the e-invoice system, as we have here two options like issue date, due date. We have to activate or disable, but after 4th of December, we stop, give the organization to change the status. Here, before activating the tax that activate Saudi invoice, we will see that in bill settings, we have same in invoice settings, if the numbering is editable or locked, and define the prefix number and sequence number for invoice and credit note and debit note. All of them you have to specify before activating the Saudi invoice in Qoyod system. So please make sure that you will define the invoice prefix number and sequence number before activating Saudi invoice, since as you see here, we don't have anything for invoice settings and credit note and debit note. So this is first of thing to do. Also, how to go there through setting, then general setting, you will have the prefix number and ability to change the numbering. Is it editable reference or no? But after activating Saudi invoice, you will not be able to change, since whenever we create a new invoice through sales invoices, a new invoice, we cannot generate the invoice as what we want to change. It's automatically take the reference. Also, we have the users, as we said that we have user management through manage roles. You can specify every role different than the other. I will click edit and you can click on new role. Here we have sales department. We will give the authorities of sales department for sales, for unit type, customers, quotations, all of them we will define it before. Then for example, read, write, delete, and approve, we will specify it here, then click on save. After that, we will manage users to add a new users and link it to the role that you want. So here we will click on we will write the name, for example, Fahad Munir. A contact number, we will write the contact number, email qoyod.com. Role, we will select the role, location, we will give him the location that he would work on. Allowed payable accounts, we will select the accounts he can pay or receive the amount on. And maximum discount percentage, for example, 10% or 2% and so on. And if he is POS user, purchase the point of sales user, we will select that and give him or specify the location that he will work on. Then we will click on save. For all of these are custom fields, we can do it together. Here we have add the user and how to check the user management through reports from Qoyod side menu. We will see the activity report. Whenever we click on activity report, we can know all the entries by the user with date and time, also the transaction type, and see what's the update happen for every transaction. We can filter by the user, filter by the transaction from date to specify the date and the document. And we will see here how many hours he has been worked on and how many transactions happen in that day. So this will give me a view of the user management, session management. So we have to make sure that we have same like this. And for every user we have in Qoyod, everyone will sign with his own email, his own password, and not allowed to have two users in the same username. Also, as you see that we have two-factor authorization, which can you activate it through edit profile, then activate the two-factor authorization here with activating. The last thing we have the settings custom fields. We will see that we have an invoices and quotation, for example, branch. Here we have group tax number. Since it's not mentioned in Qoyod or not there in Qoyod until now, so we can add the group tax number of the company and for the users. This here we will write client or customer. So whenever we fill the customer group tax number, we can add it to the invoice through custom fields. Also, we have date. For example, we have the supply date. We select the field type as date, and we have a field type as text. We wrote it as employee if I wanna print the employee name in the invoice, and we have the field type text. For example, something additional for me, it's not required from ZATCA, which is a PO number from the client. If I wanna to show the PO number from the client, all of my clients or customers ask for the PO number, which they give us before, so we can print it in the invoice through custom fields option. After that, we will move to general setting to check the invoice design and how to design the invoice. If we go down in the invoice setting, we will see that we have open designer and we have switched to old design. Okay, because I'm activating the new designer, we can go to purchase order setting. We will have it same as this, the default format. We have the notes, we have terms and condition to fill. Also, we have printing format settings to use default style or not activating that. Choose the language, choose the paper size, spacing mode. You will specify your header and you will specify your footer. Then you have to select one of these and it will give you a limitation if you have, especially if you have a service to clients, not goods to buy, because it's written product, English name, product, product image, product name. So all of this, you can change it through a new designer. Also, if we go to credit note settings and select on download sample, this is the default style, which will show based on our design. You say we write or in the default styling. I chose it in Arabic settings. Also, we can change that later. Here we have opened the new designer. As we say, as we see here, it's written in Arabic. We will design a new design in Arabic and English to write it in both languages. And as we know that the required invoice shows in Arabic for product name and some other data. We will have the subject. We will have the date, the main information, and we will have the logo, build from and build to. Then we will have the design of the table, product, a description, quantity, price, discount, and so on. And we will have the conditions and notes and the total before VAT, after VAT, and the QR code, as well as the issue date and date of issuing if we want. So we will select to add here Open Designer, and here we can change the language. Either we want it in English or Arabic, and we can choose one of the templates, template 2, 3, 1, and the paper size we can select it from here. And we will see how to do it in A4 template without choosing any template, because it's give me some restriction in the view. For example, whenever we have blocks to have, so it will give me some limitation. I prefer to have it from the scratch to do or to design the invoice. So we will have this as an example, and we will do the same of the invoice to show. First of all, we will click on enter many times to have new lines. After that, we can control the page. I will select here insert table. I will have 2 columns and or let's say 4 columns, and for example 8 or 7 columns, same as it show here. I will select the mouse and hold it and go to the next or the last row of the first column, then right click, cell, merge cell. So we will have a merged cell here. Also here, I will hold click here and go to the other row, to other column, and right click here, merge cell. We will have it same as this. And then we will write the other information. Here, we will select here and select on insert page and show the logo. Here, we will select on edit image and change the width and height as what we want. And then I will click on Control X, then here Control V to have it in the table. And we will write here, right click, table properties, and have it here alignment in the center to show in the center, as well as here we will select on align center to have the logo in the center. And here we will select on table properties. The width, we will keep it on percentage, but we will write 98% to have some spaces in the right and the left. And here we will write فاتورة مبيعات ضريبية, which is tax invoice. We can write sales tax invoice as what we want, and Control B, or here select bold to have it bold. Also here we have colors. We can change the color as what we want, and whenever we right click here, cell properties, advanced, we will have here background color. We can change the background color as what we want. After that, we will have the invoice number. And we will have وصف الفاتورة, which is invoice description. We will have issue date. We will have تاريخ الاستحقاق, which is due date. And we will have تاريخ التوريد, which is supply date. If always we have the supply date different than the issue date, so we will have to specify it in the table. We will add also the location, the PO number from the client, and employee name. We have only one row. We want to add more rows, so I will click here and so insert row after and write employee name and we will have the last thing الموقع, which is location. And we can do our alignment as what we want. We can make it smaller or bigger as what we want, and the width and height. And I select all of them and change that the font to 10, which is suitable to have it in the invoice. 14 is very big, so we will have it same as this. Then before completing, I will show you what we have here. We have the edit action, cut, copy, paste, and we have here view for blocks, as we said before, what we have to show as help, something help tool. Insert, we can insert link, table, horizontal line, page break, non-break space. Format, here we have all formats, and format, block, font size, text color, background color. And we have tools, the source code. If you have experience with that, you can use it. And the table, cell, row, column, and sort. Now we will select here on the 3 dots for more and link it to what we did before. First, we have here select document details. We have reference, invoice number. Then we have invoice description, which is in the document details. Issue date, we will find it in the document details as well with issue date. Due date as well in the document details. Supply date, which is still additional information. We can add it through custom fields. Here we have issue date. Then we have employee name. We have added through custom fields as well. PO number, we can add the PO number through the custom field as well. The last thing, we have the location. We can find it in the document details. So the first main information we have filled together. After that, we will add another table like build from and build to. We will select on insert, then table. We will have four columns, and we will add for now five rows. We will write here مفوتر من, which is built from. and we write مفوتر إلى, which is build to. Then we will keep it bold and select here, right click. Also here we have a shortcut for table properties to change the width to 98%. And also we will select again to keep the alignment in the center. And we will change the width here for build from and build to as what we want. Also we will select on that and change the color and the background as what we want to show. I will change the background color not from here. We will select on right click, cell properties, advanced, change the background color to, for example, light gray. As well here, we will select on cell properties, advanced. Here we will change the background color to light gray. After that, we will add our organization details like organization name, organization VAT number. Also, we have the organization email. The last thing we have organization address. Also, we will add the phone. For a same, we will do for the contact or the customer, customer name, customer tax number, customer email, customer address, billing address. We have also shipping address. If you want to add it, we can add it. And we will add the contact primary phone. So this is the main data we will have it for the organization and for the customer. Whenever we want to add more things, we can add it as here in the template. We have the shipping address. So if we want to add it anytime, we can select on here to the table and select here insert row after and add the shipping address if it's available for all customer if you want. Whenever we want to delete it, we will select here delete rows. Then we will select here and add insert horizontal line. We finished from the first main information. We will hide the borders as what we see now. Right click table properties, or from here shortcut to add to change the table properties. Borders width will be 0, and here we will have same table properties. Border width will be 0. So now we have hidden all the borders of the information what we have. Here also we can select a new table to add the main information for the line item number, product name or service name as what we wanna name it, description, quantity, price, and discount. We will add a new table, insert. We will have, for example, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We will have 9 columns and 2 rows. Now we will change the width and height based on our requirements. We will have the line item number. We can write this simple. We will write here. We can write اسم ووصف, which is name and description of the product, or we can write it service as what you want. And we can also click on a new line item or a new line and write here in English name and description, and write here product name and description. Also, we will have, so we will take out one of the columns since we gather it together. So here I will select to delete column. We will have quantity, unit price, discount, percentage of the VAT, and amount of the VAT, and total amount, VAT inclusive amount. Then we will change the font size to 10 or to 12, and we will keep it bold, and we will change the width, what we have here. Hold and change the font size. This will, we can have it for 2 lines if you want from the beginning, and change the width what we show here. And can be adjusted after printing a new invoice to see. Now we will link it to a line item. Here we have the line number, and we will have here the name and description, product description. We will select here line product details. We will have SKU if we want. It's not required in the first phase. And we will have a product English name and Arabic name. Also the description of product description. Also, we have another thing like barcode of the product or category name. We can add it. Then we will move to the quantity, click on line item, quantity, unit price. Here we will find it in the line item. Discount, we will find it also in the line item. Percentage of the VAT, we will define it with the line item. VAT amount also in the VAT amount. Total amount inclusive VAT inclusive amount, which is the total in the line item. Then we can here in this right click, row properties, advanced, change the background color to light blue to change the design. And here we can right click and change the color to dark blue. Also, we can select all of them, and table properties, sorry. Here we will select on table properties, and we can change the border color to navy blue, and we can change the background color as we said before. And here we can have it double if you want, as it shows here, or keep it gray. The gray is a good choice to change it here to the gray color. After that, we will have the total table. We will insert a table for 2 columns and 4 or 5 rows. We will select on the table properties. The width will be 50%, and alignment would be in the left. So we will have it only in the left side. We will write here the total amount VAT exclusive amount and the due amount here. We will delete this row. It's not we do not need this row. Then we will change the font size to 10 and change the height here. We will select on the document details, and here we have total before VAT amount, total amount, VAT inclusive, which is the total in the document details, and the due amount, which is if the invoice in credit, so maybe he will pay partially, so we will show the due amount to this customer. Here we will select right click cell properties, or we can do it for row properties, advanced background color in light gray to show it different than the others. And here we will keep it bold and change the color. Then we will right click table properties, the border width will be 0. Also, we can keep all of them bold as it shows now. Also, we can right click for the table and change the width to 60% and keep it in the same line as it show now. To have it simply whatever we have more tables, so we need to make it simple as much as we can, and check with the all fonts of the invoice to be in 10 pt. After that, we will select here. Here I have this, by mistake, I haven't add more lines, so it will give me limited access. So here at this, I will try to cut this table. And write more here, and I will write الشروط والأحكام and الملاحظات, which is notes. So here we will link to the terms and condition, which is in the document details, and the notes we will write to the notes. And keep it bold, and the places as what you want to change. Here we will have it in dark blue, and change the font size to number 10. Then we will select here for many new lines, and add a horizontal line and insert horizontal line. Then we will add the QR code if it's required, or it's optional for the tax invoice. It's only mandatory for the simplified tax invoice. Here in the document details, we have QR code. We can add it here or add it here to add more column to add it in the top of the page. So it's up to you to have this in your system. So now we have finished from designing the e-invoice template. We will select on save. Then we will go to invoices and show the sample to print one of the invoices we have before. As we see here, we have all of the data shown in the invoice in one page only. Also, we will have another invoice. We have this invoice with a long description in the invoice, so it showed me in the 2 pages of the invoice, so it's based on your selections. The last thing we will discuss whenever we have add a new invoice and by mistake we have selected for example, we have a returning invoice, how to do that. So as we see here, we don't have the delete icon, only we have it for draft status. So what we will have, we will go to the invoice. We will add a new invoice. We will have an invoice description, we have the locations, and the product. For example, we have a shampoo intensive repair, or we have another, for example, we have a service, for example, contract consulting. We have it with 1,000 riyal. With that, we have it 1,150. Also here we have the terms and condition. We can pay 50% in advance, and we have in the notes to write you can get benefit of contract consulting with 3 months with the issue date. So here we have the receipt. We can pay the amount now, or have it later if it's credit amount, and select save and approve. Now we have this invoice of the customer reward schools. For this invoice, for example, whenever we select on download PDF, we have this invoice, and these the terms and condition and notes shown here with the total details. Also, we will by mistake we select reward school, and it's another customer, for example, City W. How to do? We will select on view action, go down, return invoice, Then we have a new credit note. We can go from this shortcut or go to the invoices, then select on manage credit note, a new credit note, and here parent invoice, we will select the invoice we want to return and will give me all the details. So we have the two options to have. So we will do it from new credit notes. We have these details, product description, whenever we add any description, and the same reward schools, we will return it since it's by mistake. We did it for a reward schools. Then we will select on save and approve. Then the credit note had been issued. As we said that it's by mistake that we chose the client and still it's not paid. If it's not paid, so we can directly click on allocate credit note and allocate it with the wrong invoice, which is 112. If we did the receipt by mistake, so we will go to the customer receipt. If it's partially paid by mistake with the wrong customer name, for example, I select on the payment and select the amount and the date, and for example, it's partially paid. So by mistake, it's for the wrong customer. We will go to the customer receipts, then delete the receipt voucher. So it's okay to delete the receipt voucher. We will select on customer receipt and delete the wrong receipt. Then we will go again to the manage credit note and select on allocate credit notes and select the wrong invoice and have the amount 1150 and select on save. So the status will be used. So whenever we select the see the invoice, we will see that it's already paid using credit note. So before we have it partially paid with 150, we have deleted the customer receipt. Then we allocated with the invoice to cancel the invoice issued. So we don't have the delete, so that's why we did the credit note. Also, the same, whatever we have a mistake to do or returning invoice, we will do the same steps we did before. For example, we have this invoice has been paid partially. With cash on hand of Ali. So this we have it partially paid. Whenever we select on the view, we have paid, we have sell iPhone 11 for this customer and he wanna to return it and it's partially paid. We will go down and select on return invoice with the same data. We'll keep it the same and we can change the issue date of the credit note with the date of today. Also here for the due date. Then we will select on save and approve. As we know that the invoice only amount only available to pay, which is 3,500. So we will go to the manage credit note, select on allocate credit note, 3,300 in the invoice 111, 3,500. Then we have balance 444. So we will return the money to the customer because he paid it in advance, for example. So we will select on return money and choose the amount we will pay from the date of today for whatever the date, and select save. So all the credit note will be used. So we allocate the amount because he hasn't paid the full the amount fully with allocating, and the rest, the amount he paid before, we will return it same as we did whenever we purchase a t-shirt from any store.